Welcome to the Brett Davis Podcast.
Well, it's 2 for 2. I just had Robert Moreno on, of course, from Chula Vista, who's running for the Southwestern College Board. We get involved with the community, and typically we don't get involved with endorsements, but I don't give a damn, and I'm crossing boundaries and all that because I think it's important to get the right people in office. The gentleman I'm going to be interviewing is John Duncan, of course, who is running for the Coronado City Council.
Yes, sir.
The only one endorsed by the Coronado Police Department and the Firefighters Association.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did I say fire? Did I say police department or police officers association?
It's the Coronado Police Officers Association.
Okay. Wanted to get that clear, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. So John and I've been watching John quietly for a while. We met not too long ago at a dinner for the 4th of July parade. Of course, it was a great event, but I had been hearing about him through the community since we've had Beyond the Bridge, the newspaper in town. And one thing about John, I'll tell you what, I can tell he's sincere. He cares. I'm not getting anything out of doing this, by the way, other than maybe a beer, but that's another story. He's a great guy. He cares about Coronado. And after we hear more about what he's about, you'll understand why IQ Podcast is officially endorsing him for the city council, because we think he's the right person for the job in Coronado. And I know he cares. I said, thanks for being here.
My pleasure. And thank you for the endorsement and a little bit of a surprise. I appreciate
it. Typically we don't get involved with political stuff, but I found that the people that I'm talking about, because we are in press, we do hear a lot of things about people. And so we don't get into mudslinging. I just think it's only fair to the community to say, we really believe this person's going to do a stellar job.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. And that's really one of the main reasons I'm running. I'm trying to encourage qualified people to run. At times for public office, you see the same sort of cycle of incumbents and former people, in this case, former council members, running again, and a lot of very competent and people that I think are smart and qualified that should run don't. And that's one of the things I want to be an example to show that, hey, you can run, you can get through that, and you can really contribute to the city. And I'm looking forward to it.
So why do you think a lot of the good people that are out there, because there is a lot of talent, don't want to run?
Yeah. So Coronado, for instance, is full of talent, and I meet these incredible people on commissions I serve on city council appointed positions that I serve on, in the Rotary, Optimist Club, things like that. I'm not an optimist, but I'm a Rotarian.
I'm sorry.
I like the optimists.
Well, actually, I like Rotarians and I like the optimists, and we have mutual friends in both probably. And,
for sure.
But they do great jobs, and they're great civic groups that get really involved behind the city.
Yeah, and to answer your question though, specifically, a lot of these people we're talking about, which would be incredible on council, they don't run for really two reasons. One, as I was mentioning, getting through that incumbent sort of wall where these people try to keep the same people in power. And the other issue is social media. And that's why it's fun to be with you tonight, because at times on social media, it can be a small group, maybe 6, 7, 8, 10 people that are just relentless, and people just do not want to put themselves out there because of that. But I'm happy to do it. My wife might get a little mad at me once in a while for doing it, but I'm happy to do it, and I can handle it. I practiced law for 25 years with, tougher opponents than these few people who I never see in town. So I'm happy to do it. I'm excited.
What made you decide now to run?
Wow, that is a great question. For me, originally, I became interested in local government and being in office for a few different reasons. I believe people should stand up for what they believe in and not feel that public pressure should keep them from speaking their mind on what they really, really believe. I'll give you a small aside story. So my children, I have 4 children, fortunate, a 20-year-old in college and 3 17-year-old triplets. They're awesome kids.
Triplets.
Yes, sir. Triplets, 17. I keep teasing my wife. We have 19 more months with them. But yes, it was.
So that's an unusual situation in itself.
It was. My first boy came. He was easy, 9 pounds plus, slept through the night, never got sick. We're like, let's have another kid. Then we had 3 tiny preemies that kept us up for 3 years. But
all boys.
So I have an older boy. Then my triplets are 2 girls and a boy. And
sounds like karma.
Yeah, 2 and 2. 2 of them are brown hair, brown eyed, and then one is a blue eyed like the grandpas. But anyways, just a quick end of that story is that I tell them, when someone pressures you to do something, you must put this as your Instagram profile, or you're a bad person, or you must do this, or you must do that. Always resist. even if you believe in it. You're an individual person. Groups don't force you to believe things. You examine things, you make your own decisions. And um, that sort of thinking, again, back in 2020, the defund the police thing, I'm all for bad police officers being punished. And what I found in my time is that more than most people, most police officers want bad police officers punished. But what they don't want is all the incredible law enforcement people that sacrifice for the community and for our county and our country to be persecuted as evil people when they could be doing other things and making more money and not putting their lives at risk. So that was one of the reasons that sort of drove me to.
And there's a shortage of cops.
There is a shortage of police officers.
Are we having that in Coronado as well?
Yeah, and even more particularly also with the firefighters. I talked to them, and specifically, they are not getting the same amount of applicants as they used to receive.
Unbelievable.
And it's tough. They're maintaining high quality, but it is much harder. And when it takes them longer to hire, it creates stress where the current officers are having to serve longer shifts and then spend time training the new people. And people who don't get that are vastly mistaken. They'll realize it when they need somebody.
Sure.
When they need somebody, they love them.
Well, we're in a very different demographics in Coronado, as you know. Great schools, very low crime. But that being said, I got to tell you, we've got a great police department. We got a great chief for the police department and the fire department. I know, as you do very well, talk to them. Everybody that works for departments are all great people. I mean, we have a situation here that's very unique. But the people that have been defunded, like let's talk about the bigger cities like New York, Los Angeles. What's going on? Because those cities are falling apart. And I mean, I'm hearing stuff every day from people getting beat up on the subways and people going to their cars. I heard San Francisco that more than 50% of all people that live there have had some type of crime happen to them this year. And so crime rates are going up in these types of cities because of the defunding. Not that it would ever happen here in Coronado the same way because it's a different demographics. But I think it's a good case in point that defunding the police does not help the crime rate. No, it's a common sense. I mean, what do you expect, right?
Yeah, a couple points you really bring up to me. One is even where they haven't officially or fully defunded. So there was some defunding in Los Angeles, and you hear the sheriff talk about it. But the other thing is the district attorneys. Okay, bringing in district attorneys who don't believe in prosecuting crime has created chaos in San Francisco and actually caused San Francisco to recall their district attorney. So people they recalled.
I didn't know about this.
Yeah, Chase Boudin, he was the DA. He was recalled recently. And when you look at it, people try to say, oh, this is a partisan thing. Maybe Duncan's talking about this. He's too conservative and it's a liberal versus. It's not. In San Francisco, that government is strongly Democratic Party, and they pushed the mayor there. She pushed to recall that DA. And in LA, I believe it should happen. It's George Gascon. He came down from San Francisco and has created chaos in Los Angeles by not prosecuting crimes. The sheriff would like him recalled. He strongly speaks about it. And people, again, to my point that it's not really a partisan issue, the incumbent DA that George Gascon beat was Jackie Lacey, an African-American Democrat incumbent. And that wasn't her being a normal prosecutor wasn't acceptable to the people on the far left who pushed George Gascon from San Francisco into office. And it's been a disaster. He has not been recalled, but I don't predict he'll be reelected. I mean, I don't want to go too far afield from Coronado, but for me in Coronado, a couple of things. One is just because Coronado is a fairly peaceful place does not mean at any moment we might have an issue. We could have an active shooter here. We need to be prepared.
So let's talk about that because in the last 6 months, there have been some situations that have come up. Time goes by quick. Correct me if I'm wrong. One thing is we had some car thefts that were going on, and it seemed like right away our police department in Coronado got to work on it and took care of the problem, found out the individual that was involved.
Yeah.
If you remember that over here.
Absolutely.
Over here along the, is this First Avenue?
Yeah, along the bay at the park here and everything, right. The ferry landing area.
They took care of it pretty quick, didn't they?
Yeah, and then they've had recent incidents where some individuals had guns. Absolutely.
Another thing, and they got to the bottom of that.
So the difference is Coronado has the resources now where their detectives actually investigate crimes that have occurred here, where in many other cities, those type of crimes occur and they don't have the resources, or they don't go and investigate them. We've had investigations that have taken our detectives into Mexico, into various other cities, worked with other law enforcement, and they try to get resolution and arrests. And that's what we need to make sure continues to happen. Coronado, as you know, has massive traffic from both ends coming through. There's a ton of people here. They might think we're a small town, but there are a lot of people here on a regular basis. And with our military bases, yeah, multiple, there are issues that could come up very quickly that we need to have the right security for.
So we look at Imperial Beach as being a new facility. Of course, it's been a little somewhat open with the SEALs working there. And I understand the next year and a half or so, they expect about 20,000 employees working in that facility. I don't know if that's correct or if you've heard any other information or numbers. I would think we're going to get some runoff from that too, somewhere along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Still Base Southwest is becoming a major facility. It does create more traffic, more people working down here. And to be honest with you, you don't want to be a doom person, but you prepare, right, for problems in case they occur. Our national security facilities, our military bases, those are targets. There's no doubt they're targets. And to think we'll never have a problem again is kind of silly. We need to be prepared and have the proper security.
Well, I think that's what happened at Pearl Harbor, right? We thought we were fine, and we were out having not funding our Navy at all. And
yeah, it may have been a while ago, but that is a true example of thinking everything is safe. And it's true wherever there's been a terrorist incident, people feel safe and comfortable where they are, and then something happens and they look back in retrospect. So again, I'm a positive person. I think Coronado is a unique place because we're our own city. If you look at a place like La Jolla or another town, they're part of the city of San Diego. So they don't have as much local control as we have. So we have a lot of local control. We have our own police department. You mentioned Imperial Beach. They don't have their own police department.
The sheriff's department.
Yeah, they subcontract with the sheriffs, who I think do a good job there from what I understand. But still, our local control is one of the real reasons that I'm running, is to try to work to maintain what local control we have. And by that, I mean Coronado's politics aren't just here. They're across the bridge.
Of course they are.
Sandag, other regional agencies. A lot of people in Coronado don't spend a lot of time thinking about it, but the city of Coronado and a council member gets appointed to serve on these agencies. So a council member in Coronado will be a full voting member on Sandag or a full voting member on the Transportation Association and things like that. So I think my skills from practicing law for 25 years, the other boards I serve on, I think I could be a strong representative for Coronado. I'm not shy. I'm pretty verbal and
I can see that.
Hardworking. I don't mean to talk too much, but
no, what I like is you're very humble, and you've worked your ass off for many, many years. Nothing's come easy for you, I'm sure. You're invested in Coronado. The fact that you live here and you have your family here, somebody that cares about the community. That's what I've heard about you before I even knew who you were. And so those are things, and your information. You've been on some great committees. I think one of them was the FBI committee for citizens.
Right. So I just my quick experience now. I serve on the board of directors of the Coronado Historical Association,
which is very important.
Really try to work with them to make them relevant and not just be in an opposition force.
Sure.
But figure out, what do you want? How can we make that a reality with working, whether it's with developers or with city council, city staff, trying to make a relationship that really works, a practical one. We've made some strides. It's not just me, it's others, but that's my focus on the committees I serve on with CHA. I'm the chair of the Civil Service Commission, which has given me some good background on how the city works, how the pay structures work, how discipline works with employees. I have served 2 terms on the Bicycle Advisory Commission, which is, people might think, oh, bicycles, that's not that important. But in Coronado, transportation and how everything works is a big deal. And then to answer your question about law enforcement and the FBI committee I serve on. So there's a group that works up with the FBI headquarters in Sorrento Valley called the FBI Citizens Academy. I went through that academy, as also went through the Coronado Police Academy. And then they have an alumni association that works and helps the FBI put these courses on for other parties, including some people have been through it fairly recently. So I serve on that. I'm the Academy Functions Chair, so I re-attend the Academy, helping them run it. And it gives you, it's a low-level security clearance, but it does give you briefings on what's going on and things that people don't really know or talk about. Let's give you one super quick example. There was a sting on a terrorist operation here in San Diego County where 4 Somali terrorists.
Oh, I heard about it. Chula Vista Police Department was involved.
They were involved with the FBI. The FBI ran the sting, arrested them in Chula Vista in a warehouse. They were trying to go to fight with ISIS. And
Wow,
people don't think about that and what could happen.
Well,
but
now-
these people sacrifice.
Right. So here's the thing. I'm trying to stay focused on John's campaign, but I have to tell you something. And I love everybody. This country was built on immigrants from all around the world. But under current situations, the borders are strained, and we have a lot of people that are coming in that don't want the United States to be successful. It's not just people coming here wanting to work. There is a lot of activity with the terrorism type situations, I would think, because we have a lot of different groups that are coming in. It's not just people that want to work here. Not to even mention the drug smuggling that's going on with the whole fentanyl thing. That's a whole different situation. The border is important. Job creation is important. I mean, in Coronado, we really don't feel those types of situations. That I'm sure they're probably there, but I've never seen anything like that because it's a pocket. But we do need strong borders for security reasons, and we just need that security. People don't realize how important it is until something happens.
And the worst thing about it is if you just talk about it, there's certain people who will say, well, you're a racist because you talk about this country was built on being able to talk about things. We don't have to hate each other if we disagree, but if we can't discuss anything, it's just ridiculous. That type of shutting down of speech it's almost something I was alluding to earlier. I just am adamant against it. And border security is definitely something I believe in. It's not based off of people having an opportunity to come here. I always thought we should have had a guest worker program set up.
I agree.
Common sense immigration, right?
Getting them vetted, having them paying taxes, become citizens,
right?
The process.
But when you mention fentanyl and you talk about the fact that there's been enough of it that has come across the border to kill every citizen in the country, if you don't think that's a real security risk, people's heads in the sand about that. It's real. And yeah, controlling borders is a concept that you could say a place like Costa Rica, which is considered a very, peaceful, loving, nice place that doesn't really have a military. They're very strict with their borders.
Well, here's one thing a lot of people don't know. And again, I don't mean to go on a tangent, but you and I seem to understand what we're talking about. And for people who are not aware of what we're talking about, I mean, you need to be aware because there needs to be things in place before they happen. It's called preparing. Plan for the best, but was it prepare for the worst? Or
hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Absolutely.
And there's nothing wrong with that. So we have to be prepared. And we're losing steps. And in San Diego alone, I mean, there's a lot going on. But Coronado is again changing as well because now there's a new law that states that we have to have more affordable housing in Coronado, which traffic is already challenged. And I understand the Smart and Final site is already is it federal that decided that that's going to become low housing.
I appreciate you bringing this subject up. A few comments on it. So one is
there's been concerns from a lot of people from Coronado about this.
It's a huge issue, and it's one of the major issues that I've talked about. It's an issue where Sandag was delegated the power to assign housing from the state to the communities. It's Sandag, again, it's a regional body, San Diego Association of Governments. Coronado's part of it. And they really hammered Coronado in multiple ways. One is they counted every Navy job as a job that Coronado needs to have housing for, but they counted 0% of the Navy housing as a credit. And they counted every job on a carrier, on every person who's deployed out of that base as someone we need to provide housing for. They use this in our assessment. And just one other thing, I don't want to get too technical, but the way the vote went, something like 14 cities in Sandag voted against this imposition of housing on Coronado, and 3 or 4 voted for it. Well, you think Coronado won then, right? No, San Diego, the city of San Diego has a supermajority vote. They vetoed the vote and forced this allocation of 1,000. It's been reduced now to around 800 new housing units on Coronado. So that's where we stand. It's not really feasible. People don't really think about it. They say things to me like, well, why don't we build it at Tidelands? Tidelands is port property.
I've also heard people say, why don't we tear the golf course down and put it there?
Port property. Coronado has no jurisdiction over it. And
why would you get rid of a golf course, iconic golf course? I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, people can live where they want.
It's actually one of the best and most affordable public golf courses in the country. And
But I mean, it's ludicrous to even think that they would even consider that.
and even if they could, they can't, because it's port property and the port's own charter says they're not allowed to build any housing units on any of their property. So it's impossible, right? Navy property, it's impossible for us. So Coronado doesn't really have many areas. So you mentioned the Smart and Final building, which is disturbing to some people who live near there. That is one building that could potentially be torn down and have housing built up on it. Most areas of Coronado, that cannot happen because of restrictions, because of the Naval Air Station, and height restrictions because of flight paths, and it's actually considered a crash zone. So they will not, even though thankfully and hopefully we will never have any naval crashes in the city. That's part of the reason why they won't let the city build up. So Coronado is really heavily restricted on anything they can possibly do. The other thing I really wanted to mention in your question, you talked about affordable housing, which is a huge misnomer on this housing imposition, right, from Sandag. It's not really affordable housing. Their definition of affordable, it has two different levels, and in those levels, it just has to be below, a little bit below the average current rent. Affordable housing isn't housing that's, $3, $4, $5,000 a month, but that's what would fit into these categories. So it's not like we're going to be providing real affordable housing, even if we followed this plan and could follow it to help potentially, single people or workers in town. That it's really a misnomer.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm really thankful that you came by with your busy schedule. I know you're working your butt off for this campaign.
13 days to go, buddy.
Amazing. So I want everybody to know that I typically don't support or back candidates. This is actually the first time that we've ever done it on air that I know of. I mean, I don't think we've ever even done it on a radio show, but I'm concerned enough to where I feel that I'm going to take that leap because of my instincts. And the fact is, we hear from the public. I mean, we hear things, especially in Coronado. I mean, I have lunch with everybody in town pretty much. I know what's going on. I hear concerns from people. And if local media doesn't want to cover it and doesn't want to take a stand for whatever the reason, that's their deal. I'm taking a stand, and I'm saying John Duncan is the best choice for city council. Anybody in Coronado, by the way, I was living here. Now I had to go back about a year ago because my mom got ill and passed.
Sorry.
But after we get to the estate, we do plan on coming back here. And I do care what happens. I'm not just here having my office here. I want to come back and live here and live life that everybody in Coronado wants. So I am concerned. And I have no vested interest other than the fact is I'm concerned about the things we talked about in this interview today. And we don't know each other from Adam. We've never really, other than hello, goodbye. I mean, but I've done my research. He's the best choice. He cares. He's here. And we need more people in Coronado that care to get involved. And like you said, there are a lot of very talented people here. I'm glad you stepped up. It shows true leadership. Thank you for taking the time to be on the show. And again, we support you for your run.
Thank you so much. And I just like to add that with my 4 children, I want them to be able to come back here and live as well with this experience we've had in this incredible town. And
so it's like a diamond. I mean, we don't, San Diego is a beautiful place anyway. If you've traveled and you go to other places, you realize how blessed we really are. But Coronado is a time warp and it's historical. And there's a lot of beauty here and the people are amazing. We have amazing citizens in Coronado. It's important that we keep the integrity the way that it is. And I know you have that integrity and you care. Thank you for deciding to run because it's not an easy endeavor to run a campaign. And I know a lot of people that have run them and it runs them into the ground, and people can run you in the ground because they really don't know what you're about. But I know you are sincere, and thank you.
Thank you.
You're good. You're a good man.
I appreciate it. And I'm gonna do my best to work.
Oh,
hard.
I know you will. Everybody, you heard that. So if you want to throw tomatoes at me or get upset with me for supporting John Duncan, that's fine. But he is the best guy for the city council in Coronado. And, we've been lucky to have good leadership as it is. Mayor Bailey has done a phenomenal job. And I feel like in a way we discovered him first. So if he goes on to bigger and better things, he's a perfect leader also. But, we got to care about Coronado. Things could disappear really quick.
That's my point. With city council, it only takes 3 votes to do anything. So if you don't get the right people on council, things could change very quickly. So I appreciate your support.
No, we're here for you any way we can help. You know that. We care about the city too. And thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody. Is his website up there, Sarah? I didn't check. I was too much in the zone with the conversation. Very good. Okay, everybody, you take care. And we have a couple other shows coming up tonight. This is almost an all-nighter for us. We typically don't do this many shows in one night, but it's important. And I want everybody to be nice to each other. Take care. God bless. And of course, to my sponsors, Attorney King, Sequan Casino Spa and Resort, IB Fitness, and Bonafide to the Garage. And Marco and his family and everybody there, they do a phenomenal job.
Love that place.
Everybody take care, and we'll see you on the next show. Take care.
Good night.